Thank you everyone for sharing. It was very, very interesting, but I have a question for the chocolatiers first. White chocolate, real chocolate or fraud?
Oh no.
It has cocoa butter in it.
Yeah.
So it is half of the cocoa bean part of it. So if you remove the dark part would be the cocoa powder part, and then basically when you're taking the cocoa liqueur, it's going into a press, and the press expels the cocoa butter, and then it leaves a cake behind. And the cake is what you make cocoa powder from, and the cocoa powder is what you use in either in production or otherwise it goes into cosmetic industries. And white chocolate is entirely made from cocoa butter, and then the rest is sugar, milk, vanilla, lecithin, that kind of other product. It tastes really good, and a lot of people really like it as well too. But it doesn't have a complete chocolate flavor.
So semi-fraud.
The people who make it, they don't think it's fraud.
Okay, next, anyway.
Question for Takayuki Yomi. You mentioned how you're starting up associations, collaborations with other sushi chefs, and which is great. And it's great also that your sushi bar is ocean-wise, but there's a vast number of sushi restaurants out there that aren't. And I was just wondering, what do you think are the main barriers to getting more people on board and sort of shifting the viewpoints of other sushi chefs out there that are, some of them churning out pretty indiscriminate sushi, right? That's using, substandard product.
I really want to talk to those, maybe the owner. They have to make money. But how about, are you happy to making sushi to the guest? For example, like I will always asking the friend, and then I'm eating sushi since like kid, right? And then I grow up and then, my sushi chef, the local sushi chef gave me bad fish. When I grow, I knew it for the future. I feel so sad. And then I'm teaching kid to sushi class. I'm doing like a perfectionism? Like I use the local soy, local wasabi, and then local processed ginger. So it's not lying. And then they grow. If they knew, they have no idea local. What is a local soy? They have no idea. But they grow up to 20 years old and 30 years old. Wow, sushi chef Taka gave me that time. It's real sushi. So what do you think, other sushi chef? Let's do something right. And I'm not saying that the soy sauce from Japan is not bad things, but how about what's a sushi? And then come on, you're the owner, I know, your financial situation, but let's don't do the bad things. I will say the barbecue eel from China is bad things, okay? And then why you put in a menu? Just remove it. And then healthy, people talk about healthy. Come on, chef. And then you say, this is the good fish and recommendation, people are trust. Is it really good things? No, I don't think so. So we just take it up 3 years ago, and then we doing right things. And then I'm keeping asking all my chefs friends, and then they feel kind of sad. So that's the first step. And then I know it's very difficult to convince all of them, but how about unhealthy? Come on, don't do that. And then, yeah, it's organic, and people talk about main menu, say that organic potato. How about, what is this? Barbecue eel. Come on, it's not right. Yeah, I try to talk to the other chefs just one by one. And then we can jump, but one day it changes. I just want to be.
Thank you for sharing. And I was really interested in all of the panelists were making reference to their passion. When you have passion as an entrepreneur and you're heading down this road, and I'm sure I know all of you have made that change, and you discover something and you go, whoa, I didn't expect that. How do you know to turn left or to turn right? When is that point where you've gone down a road and then you've discovered something that changed your business?
Well, first of all, I just want to respond to the one question previous, because I'm not sure if, just on the sushi question, isn't it the consumer that drives the change? So isn't it when we as consumers say it's not cool to eat eel from China, versus, because isn't that when we create change? And so it's sort of the cool thing is that what you're doing is you're educating these guys, but as a group, if we educate people that it's not cool, that it's not cool to do that shit, then they won't do it. So that was that one thing. Now the question with respect to looking, we all go down this path, right? We believe, and you were saying your numbers and your brother does the numbers. Oh, my accounts have done all the numbers. And you're like, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire 10 times. I'm so excited. And then it doesn't work, right? And you're like, oh, damn it. So it's sort of, when I retired, I took a motorcycle lesson. And I don't know if you've ever ridden a motorcycle, but they tell you to look up. And as the CEO of a publicly traded company, we run our quarters from quarter to quarter. As people in this business right now, you run your businesses from paycheck to paycheck in something, So the challenge is that we're getting to this grind. And as you ride a motorcycle, there's a man in front of you who looks you in the eye and yells at you and says, look up, look up. Because when you look up, you'll see further horizon and you can see what's coming at you. So in business, I think it's the challenge is that we as entrepreneurs sometimes have to stop and look up, because you'll see what's working and not versus just doing. And I guess that's the way that I would answer that question. I don't know, how about you?
Things that change the business, or that epiphany, that moment of, we planted some apple trees in 89, and we put some signs up all over the place, like every hydro pole everywhere had signs. We've got some apples for sale down our road. My brother and I did that when I was young. We were running around. Later on, actually, when the hydro guys came and said they were going to charge us $500 for every sign, they had to take up the hydro poles. But it was enough to get people coming around, and we advertised, and all of a sudden, people showed up, and they bought our apples and came back and said, those were awesome. Can you keep growing it? And I think that was the moment where it just dawned on me that I could control my future in marketing, because always the farmer was always the taker. Farmers are takers. They just grow way too much of something, and they sit there and wonder why the price is depressed. And I didn't want to be a taker. I wanted to be I sensed right at that moment, I says, I can control what the price will be at the end by giving people what they want and doing an incredible job. Actually, I think it was in 96, I came up with the concept of experience-based farming. And that is where people would experience the food. It wasn't just buying food, they're buying an experience. So that would be something, a moment. Those are moments where you just suddenly, this is what people want. So. By the way, I love the Jones soda, and I did submit some photos to get it. Never saw those photos, but I submitted them.
Well, I think in our business anyway, you work many long days and hours. So it has to do with what you mentioned at first, is the passion. So if you do what you love, you're not going to work one day in your life. It's pretty much a cliche, but really it has to be that way, because if you don't like what you do, it will show through in your product, in your packaging, and whatever it is that you're doing. So you have to, we taught some classes as well too, and I always used to say to the students, you have to have a rationale. If somebody comes over to your restaurant or wherever else you're going to go, they have to know right away from what they see on the plate or on the box or whatever, or the packaging, they have to know where you stand. They have to know what your vision of your product is. And if they can't see that, you're all over the place, and if you're all over the place, you go nowhere. And I think that you have to have a vision, and that vision, if you don't know what it is, then you have to figure it out. But once you do, you got to carry it through. Otherwise, you zigzag.
Peter, do you see Spud as an online customer experience service or as a traditional grocer? And two, with the threat of Amazon in the US, talk about how you're going to respond to that in Canada.
Well, let's start with the question number 2. In business, everyone says there's somebody out there that's bigger than you. There's a bigger farmer, there's a bigger chocolatier, there's a bigger sushi bar. And in life, if you're truly an entrepreneur, you have to say, who cares? So I really don't give a flying what's up with Amazon. I really don't, and I shouldn't. And there's a great book out there that, as entrepreneurs, I would highly recommend you read. It's called The Blue Ocean Strategy, where you focus on your strategy, not someone else's strategy. And what happens is that everyone get scared because it's in the news and it's stuff that you have to listen to about Amazon. So, my experience was that I didn't go to university. So, what I did is I started to look at businesses outside of it. So at Jones, I would never look at soda companies. I'd look at fashion companies. I'd look at Puma. I'd look at Adidas. I'd look at everybody else, but I would never look at a Coke or Pepsi because I couldn't do what they were doing and I didn't care. So that's the same sort of attitude that I take into everything I do. With respect to Spud moving forward, I think we have to get better at our customer experience, and I think that's where we've figured out this community DC. I think it's we did is spend a lot of time and energy learning why people don't want to buy online, and they don't want to give up the choice of picking their own produce. So when you look at online, you have this huge opportunity is that the people want to pick their own produce. That makes sense. And giving up that they're scared of it. They're absolutely scared. It's a fear. And it used to be two things that they were afraid on online. One was meat and produce. Meat was about 38% of the people surveyed said they don't want to buy it because they're afraid of the meat source. Since all this meat scare and XL meat companies, that's actually gone away because it's much easier now to describe where we're getting our free range organic beef from. They get it. That's not a no-brainer, so that's it. But it's the produce. They want to be able to walk in and pick it. So how can we offer that service and then deal with the logistics that do we really need to have the real estate, because this is a real estate play, do we need to have a row of Cheerios? Is that relevant? In Vancouver, where people are living in 600 square feet apartments, can we afford to have 35,000 square feet of a grocery store in downtown Vancouver? You can't. You just physically, it's too expensive. So you can't afford to have a row of 14 flavors of Cheerios. So what we've said is let's change the model and put it in a unique model, put the fresh produce there. So yeah, you go in, there's 110 SKUs of produce. You walk in there, but no, I don't have 42 layers of Cheerios, but you can get it online, organic only, local only, because I'm not going to compete with Walmart. And that's what you get. So that's really the model that we're trying to play. We're going to play by our rules, and I don't care. And if it works, it works.
So you're in Canada, you're in the United States. Who is leading the sustainable movement right now? Is it us in Canada and Vancouver, or is it the Americans?
Wow, that's
Or the Italians.
yeah. I think Europe's way ahead of us. So I don't think we're even in the same league as Europe.
World Expo.
Yeah. So that's what I see. I think really you have to look at which city, and there's cities in the U.S. that are better than other cities, and because the U.S. is such a big country and there's pockets, so can you say, I would say that Houston, Dallas, not a really great environment, and you have to remember that the state of Texas has as many people as Canada. So, we're sitting here talking about a country that is, so Portland is doing a really amazing job. The Bay Area's got some great pockets that are really, really, really awesome. And you can learn a lot from them. And also we have this huge drought going on, which will impact us in Vancouver. You have a drought going on in California that will impact us. We all know that. That's relevant, going to come down. It's a big challenge here. So you have to understand that that's going to impact. It's going to impact in food prices, as you know. It's going to impact in a lot of things that you see here. So we have those challenges that are being faced, and we have this really sort of unique thing in our market, but we also have to understand that global warming is impacting how we play. Like, this game is changing, and it's changing crazy. Like, I'm sure you understand the price of limes right now. Do you know why the lime prices are so high? Does anyone know why?
Cartel.
Yeah. The cartel in Mexico couldn't make any money on marijuana because we have legalized marijuana here, so they got into the lime business. It's real. It's not. This is not. I cannot make this shit up. It's true. And so as you see people getting more and more involved in this, and it's the same thing. So when you ask me about that question, it's food impacts so many of us. It's such a thing. So the more that we can grow locally, the more that we can take care of ourselves, the more that you can grow at your own home, the more that you can do yourself, the more that you can buy half a cow or do some things like that, or cow share, or Cow share sounds really good. We do that, by the way. You can share a cow at Spud. Those are the kind of things that are cool. And that's the way we're looking at food differently. And it's that whole different model. So to answer your question, I think we all have to understand where we are with our sort of environmental impacts in the regions that we live to challenge the growing cycle of that region, right? So it's not just say, is it the U.S. or Canada? You know, California's going to go through a drought. It's going to impact us, and we're just seeing it. We're just seeing it, and so that hopefully we stop growing and wanting things. I'm going to just take 1 second to talk about bananas, because bananas are the #1 produce item in the world. I don't know if you guys knew that. So if you go to Whole Foods and you look at what the #1 selling item in Whole Foods is, banana and bottled water. How do you figure it? Yeah. Now, when you choose a banana, and you choose a conventional grown banana, you are making a choice, because if you choose an organic banana, there's absolutely no difference in the nutrient levels. You know that. Everyone in this room knows that if you make that decision that I'm going to buy an organic banana or I'm going to buy a conventional banana, I am not impacting yourselves. Clearly you are making an act. But if you make the choice for a conventional, you have to ask yourself where a banana is grown and what is the average lifespan of a banana grower? Yeah, it's not very good. Where are bananas grown? Near where people grow oceans. Where are oceans there? Where is the pesticides and the chemicals going? That's what you're making the decision on. Because it's us to say that no, we shouldn't sell organic or non-organic bananas. If you really want to impact the world, it's the #1 item out there. Instantly, it changes everything. Immediately, it makes a difference. We can talk about all this stuff all we want. Immediately, it makes a difference. Because it stops something that's there. And there is fair trade organic bananas out there that don't impact our environment. Those are choices we can make. That's the dollar, the power that we have. So when you go there and ask for it, buy an organic banana. 99 cents versus 69 cents a pound. You make the call. It's your decision.
How do you let everybody know? I mean, it's easy for all of us. We're all interested. You're kind of preaching to the converted already in this group. How do you get it out there with the bananas, with the choice from conventional to with the fish as well? Like, I didn't know, I do a lot with food. I didn't know I could get miso that was done here. I could get soy here or ginger. You know, how do you get all of this out?
Well, I think that's why we're all here tonight. You know, I think that's why we're all here at this place at 9 o'clock or 8:30 at night, sharing to a few, because that's how you change the world. Think back when it was, 50, 100 years ago, and we're all in a coffee shop in Russia. Think back when you're in these little things and everyone's smoking cigarettes, though, and drinking really strong booze. It's a lot different, but think back to the challenges that they had then. That's what we're doing. So hopefully we carry a voice. Hopefully that you make that decision and you go out there and you say, wow, I have a choice. Because we all have children. Oh, I have a child, and I want my child to have that choice. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to...
There's actually something else about this kind of interesting. There's 2 trade shows that I went to 2 weeks ago. They're both food shows. Now, interesting enough, last year when I attended both these shows, one was a national grocery show. It happened the first week. Then a few days later was this national health food show. I went to both. The first show was boring. The second show was amazing. It was like going to Whole Foods and all the suppliers of all these products were there. You get samples of everything. It was amazing. So the first show had, I think, 650 booths or something. I don't know, something like that. This year, switcheroo comes. So the health food show comes first. Then comes the national grocery show. I go to both. Same thing. Health food show is amazing. So many more exhibitors than they've ever had. It's the largest of whatever. The other show, way less booths this time than last time. So apparently they're facing a decline. The other show are people supplying Safeway. Pretty much it's these large chain stores, Safeway, mostly Safeway, of stuff that's been grown forever long ago or made years ago, and it just happened to be frozen and stuck in the freezer. So you can now tell that in the Vancouver, the Western Canadian market, people that are shopping or buying for these things, I think the education level has gone up in the past year, and now that national grocery show attendance has dropped. There are a number of booths of people exhibiting has dropped, and then the health food side went right up, and number of booths got up. So I think you're right. I mean, it's changed, and it's just a matter of time before that national grocery show is completely gone out of the Vancouver market, because there won't be enough people to even exhibit in it. So it's kind of interesting.
If you really believe in what you think you do, and as you mentioned, you have to have a vision, as I mentioned before. It's not if you lose the passion, I think you're in the wrong business. You should think of something else, because otherwise you and I don't. The word passion is really something inert, like it's something you have to have. I'm not sure you can think of something else that you're in the wrong. There's a lot of decisions sometimes when you make a product that is not working, even though you think that it's a good product and you think that everyone's gonna love it, but they don't. And that has a lot to do with taste profile or wherever you're trying to sell it. And some of the people you try to sell it to, they don't have the same vision as you do. And even though you're trying to explain to them that this is going to be the future, but they don't see it. So that's a problem. But that's not really has anything to do with passion. It's just a decision that you have to think of with the product. And that changes all the time. If you don't think on your feet, then the market will take care of you. But the passion of what you do always has to be there.
It's a statement where there is no margin, there's no mission.
Yes.
So, to your point, if you can't make money at it, eventually there's no margin. Just so the passion has to change. If that's, because that's sort of the game, right?
Yeah. We're all in business to stay in business.
Yes.
Let me ask one question to the doobies before I go there. Have you ever made a product that did not work at all, and you thought for sure it was going to work, and did not work at all, and you pulled from your thing? Because I interviewed a chef the other day, and I asked him, is there anything you ever put on your menu that didn't work in the Vancouver market? And he said, yeah. And he right away, it's a Mexican chef, Mexican restaurant, and it's a Mexican dish. They took it off the menu because Vancouverites weren't into it. And I think now Vancouverites probably will be into it. But curious, anything you've ever pulled from your line?
This, there's lots of things. Many products. It's very difficult to think of one. But one thing that we found is that we use a lot of, before we used to use a lot of children to taste whatever it is that we're making. And
They were dropping dead every.
children actually have a very, very high perception of flavor, but they don't have a memory of flavor. So they don't know anything. So basically when you're giving them something, they eat it and they judge it for what it is. So they can't remember, they don't know what bonito or some of the other flavors are, but they know it's salty or smoky, or they like it or they don't like it. So usually we give it to children, and then if they like it, then we know how we did lots of stuff with mushrooms, we did with bonito, with passion fruit, and some of the chocolate with caramel. We did cabbage, red cabbage as a jelly with chestnut, and many different kinds of flavors. And what we found is that the least you tell people, the more successful it's going to be. So basically, don't tell them, let them try. If they say, oh, it's really good, then what's in it, then you tell them, but you don't tell them before.
That's right.
This question is aimed to the farmers or the farming community, or perhaps Spud as well. Having lived in Europe, I know the scene with the farmers markets, and it's amazing that you go to the farmers markets and the produce is actually cheaper than it is in the supermarkets. And it's fresher and it's amazing, and you can come away with buckets of food every week, fresh grown in the area. And I'm wondering what it's going to take for that mentality to switch here, where it's going to end up that farm, not necessarily organic, but locally grown produce is going to end up being cheaper than that you find in the supermarket. Because it seems to be possible in Europe and probably a lot of other countries, and I just don't know what model it follows in North America that it can't happen here. Because a lot of families are stuck for budget to try to feed their family ethically and healthily, and they end up having to go with the cheapest thing they can find at the big box stores, which are obviously not locally and quickly flash frozen to ship.
If you think about what people in Canada spend as a percent of their income on food, and then you look at what a percent of income someone from England or Holland or Germany will spend on food. you find that there is a difference in attitude that is now changing. It used to be, how cheap can we buy it? I don't know if you guys probably watched Food Inc. or one of those when they showed a family down in Los Angeles or somewhere down there, San Diego, and how they could go down and buy a hamburger for $1, but if they want to get that same amount of calories and nutrition, or not even nutrition, just calories, from a local produce store, it costs them 3 times more to feed their family. So what do these people making $7 or $8 an hour do? They bought the hamburger because those kids needed to eat. And I think that's got to change. You know, I think I'm in the right business with growing vegetables. Because I think down the road, people are going to realize, like, I eat way more vegetables than I used to. And it's a conscious decision. Of course, I got tons of it in my cooler, and I can just go in there and eat in the greenhouse. I munch all day long in there. But it is a mentality. And in the wintertime, when we can't even grow it ourselves, I'll buy vegetables. I buy way more vegetables. I feel better. But I don't think that education has been there. But I think it's with social media. I mean, look at these phones. You can look up anything. I'm always looking at my phone, looking up things, learning things about, even when we're here listening to these chocolate, right away, so, oh, what about that? What about this? You're just learning constantly. And I think the cost of food, it's just, that's what's been driving things. If I can spend only 10% of my income on food, then I got more money to buy that hot car, or that I have more money to go on that great vacation to buy that other thing. So other things become more important than your nutrition. That's got to change. It's going to flip. And in Europe, they've always been that way. It's just been right from day one.
Yet the prices are lower than in the supermarkets.
Yeah.
Across the board.
You mean at the farmers markets?
Versus the supermarkets. I can't tell you how dear the price of vegetables in a tiny packet. When you go to the produce market on the weekdays, it's just
Yeah.
much fresher.
It's kind of too bad, isn't it, though? That the farmers are going to get less at Safeway, yet a higher return at the farmers market, but they're not on par with all the crap Subway food. It's kind of slightly disappointing. So should farmers markets get them to raise up their rates just a little bit more? I mean, because like when you've got a farmer getting $2 for a lettuce, you're going to have a really happy farmer. Unless they're selling to Safeway for 33 cents a head.
I think from a farming point of view, in our cost structure, the cost of me selling food at a farmer's market, which we do quite a few of them, is very expensive.
Yeah.
Farmers markets are incredibly expensive to send people to. I ran my budget the other day and I looked and I said, really? That's what we spent on labor and fuel and the truck and everything else just to sell that much produce. It wasn't a lot. If I sell to a wholesaler like Winsett Farms or something like that, there's just 5-ton trucks going out. It's just, there's a different economy of scale you're dealing with.
We're the retailer, right? So we buy from the farmer.
Yeah.
Right? So the balance is that you want to find a farmer who has a portion of their revenue coming from farmers market, but each of them will say the same thing. The portion is they're getting, you have to balance it, right? Because you're getting a retail price, right? It's okay, but it's common business sense, right? Someone's buying retail, so their costs are incurring the labor and all those things there. So they have that higher cost. They're also incurring wastage. So they, at the end of the day, there's lots of costs that go in with the farmers market. So to us, they're selling us wholesale, right? So we have to cover the costs of these things. So it's a balance of what you're trying to do. So I think what you're going to see farmers like we've done in Alberta is we've contracted we've gone to a farmer and said, we'll take your whole crop. So we've taken the risk out of from the farmer's perspective, or we bought the seeds, which is the other thing because you're trying to reduce risk from everybody's perspective. But to the main point of this whole conversation is what is cheap food? Now that's really important because there was a study done last week, and you would have read it in the Vancouver Sun, where they actually measured the guy's brain in California, or children from poverty have an actually smaller brain than people from means, and they source it back to nutrition. Now, I'm fortunate. I sit on the board of Vitamin Angels, where we provide micronutrients to children around the world. We've provided 40 million dosages last year to kids around the world, and I can emphatically tell you with everything that the nutrition is a key into a child from 0 to 4. So you want to get your child healthy, feed them organic food at that age because that's in their development stage. Make sure they have a balance of nutrition and you've got a big fighting chance. You feed your child McNuggets, that is not good. Like, it's just common frickin' sense. So we have a society where we have a people where we spend billions of dollars on television. We have I'm going to speak from an American perspective. You just had the President of the United States wife get on to talk about how are these calories. Calories are not all the same. As someone who ran a soda company, I can tell you that a calorie from a soda is not the same as a calorie from apple. Not even close. It's not even in realm. Calories are not calories. So our society needs to understand that calories are not calories, and we need to spend more money on really good food. And that's really going to, unless we do that, we're going to be comparing, you're going to compare, well, how come a Big Mac is $1.49 versus a sandwich? Now, it's really interesting now, you have a great sandwich in this store, that McDonald's now are $6 a sandwiches. So the price of food is going up. And it's going to go up higher. So get your farmers, grow your own vegetables, which would be pretty cool, and you can reduce that. Cow share, which is really what's coming down, buy a freezer. Those are the things that we have to do. Again, that's just one man's opinion, one person.
Anybody else? Moving. Okay, so I want to first of all thank all these speakers tonight. Fascinating conversations. I'm sure a lot of us learned. I learned a lot about bananas at Whole Foods. Actually, I didn't even know. So that was very interesting. And I just want to sort of thank Memento Coffee House, Rick, and this great coffee is actually from Rocanini, which is locally roasted in Vancouver. So thank you, Rick. Also, thank you, Jeff Peters. He's filming. These films will be on foodtalks.ca in a couple of weeks, and so you can share them around the world and just send everybody your message so everybody can share these films and watch these films again. And thank you to Stephanie, who is running our registration in the front. And I try to do these food talks a few times a year. I used to try 4 times, a lot of work, so a few times a year. I am doing one of them, actually probably the next one, but it'll be in early October in UBC. So I'm doing it with UBC. Actually, UBC Sustainability, and it will feature all the head chefs of UBC and the sustainability and the farming and everything that's going on at UBC, which a lot of people aren't aware of. But it's going to be hosted by them, and it's going to be pretty big, featuring with students attending and open to the public as well. So anyway, aside from that, my next event is taking place in New Westminster on May 13th. And that's the first time I'm going out to New West with that, to a brewery and a bunch of restaurants all over New West. So I have tickets available for that. And then Canby Village, tasting place I'm doing for the first time, is on Wednesday night, June 10th, and that will be info open next week. So anyway, thank you for coming, and if you want to stay and talk to the speakers, I'm sure they'd love to do that.